All right, folks, it's the Buckeye Blitz. I'm Tito, Jeff Thitoff. Follow me on the X at @FitHappens. Go through, download the free app, Apple and Android, the FanStream Sports app. Go download that. Also, go to fanstreamsports.com. Go to the FanStream Sports Facebook page. Interact with other hosts and guests, other fans of the different shows. We have so many different shows on there now going across the country, adding new shows every day. So please like, list, subscribe, share, tell your friends, all that stuff with FanStream Sports and with the app. There's a lot of good things you can get out of this. All right. Let's see. The college football playoff rankings are out. Ohio State number 1. No surprise there. I shouldn't say no surprise there. Maybe a minor surprise there on Ohio State being number 1 there, just because they looked very a lackluster first half in their win over Rutgers over the weekend. So not ideal, but they did make the necessary adjustments to win that game. So that part you should not be surprised by at all, that Ohio State did get the win. They've done a great job under Ryan Day and especially under Jim Knowles on making adjustments at the half in games. They've had an incredible run on that. If you look at the numbers, they vastly outscored the opponents, especially the last 2 years. The exception, of course, being the Michigan game last year when Michigan outscored Ohio State 28-3. But Georgia outscored Ohio State 18-13 in the second half of the CFP game. But other than that, Ohio State, they outscored their opponents in the second half. This year, only one team has scored more than 7 points in the second half against Ohio State, and that's Notre Dame. And it's a ranked game on the road. So Ohio State number 1, Georgia 2, Michigan 3, Florida State is 4, Washington 5, Oregon 6, and then Texas, Alabama, Ole Miss, and Penn State round out the top 10 there. But so I'm not completely surprised the Buckeyes number 1. There's talk about the big move to 2. None of this is going to matter. It's all going to work itself out in the next few weeks. This week you've got Michigan playing at Penn State. That could end up moving Michigan up if they get a quality big time win against Penn State. You saw Ohio State, Michigan play. Georgia's likely going to play Alabama, so somewhere along the line. So there's a lot of football. It'll all get figured out, but right now, though, Ohio State currently number 1 in the CFP. As far as the Michigan scandal, the stuff going on with that, Michigan, the Big Ten said to Michigan, "Hey, we're going to do something. Here's your chance to respond." Michigan responded in kind, sent a letter from their attorneys, talking about how they want the Big Ten to wait. Tony Petitti in the Big Ten, they want Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti to wait before passing judgment, doing anything penalty wise until the NCAA concludes their investigation. NCAA investigation could drag on for years. Right now, Petitti could suspend Jim Harbaugh for 2 games and fine him up to $10,000 for what they've been able to uncover as far as the sign stealing goes and the way they went about doing it. Anything more than that, Michigan's would have to be able to fight. The 2 games and $10,000 fine, Michigan would just have to let that go. It's part of the Big Ten having the power to do something like that without appeal. Anything more than that, though, Michigan can appeal it, and they say they will fight tooth and nail on this. They said they're not going to bring a knife to a gunfight, all these different things. They're trying to compare things that other schools allegedly have done that would compare to this, and it's a ridiculous argument by Michigan to make that statement. If they want to talk about other schools sharing what they found signal-wise from different teams, that's not against the rules. Having one of your assistant coaches dress up in the other team's attire on a sideline to record the signals from your upcoming opponent is a huge no-no. So Michigan can't do this. They can't go back and forth. Say, "Oh, well, it's not as bad as other things." No, this is unprecedented what Michigan has done in college football, and it'll be interesting to see how widespread this is, how far, how deep this goes. Did Harbaugh know about it? Really doesn't matter if he did or not. He should have known about it. But how many other teams let Connor Stallions onto their sideline or gave him access to things that he would not normally have access to as they tried to get an advantage, which they clearly had in these games. So no announcement yet on this, what's going to happen yet with Michigan. We'll see when that all comes out. I think the Big Ten does not want to penalize Michigan until Michigan is out of the CFP. If the CFP comes out and says, "Hey, Michigan, you're not eligible," which they could do, then I could see the Big Ten imposing a penalty right now. If Michigan loses at Penn State this week, I could see the Big Ten imposing a penalty right then and there. So anyway, So much more to uncover with that. Opinions all over the board from people. I personally, this is one of the worst scandals I've seen in college, in my time watching college football. I hope Michigan gets penalized heavily. I'm not just saying that as an Ohio State fan. I'm saying that because what they have done is they have cost coaches money, because you think of teams that they beat that they may not have beaten without this advantage, and it could have pushed teams out of the conference championship game, could have put coaches that had bonuses tied in to their contracts, could have made it impossible for them to gain these bonuses because they keep losing because they lost to Michigan. When Michigan had bowl game incentives, CFP incentives, all the money that other and job security could have affected some of these teams because of what Michigan did. That is a big deal and needs to be handled with a big swing by the Big Ten. All right. Buckeyes getting ready to play Michigan State, playing Sparty on Saturday, night game in the Horseshoe. Ohio State's a 31.5-point favorite. I certainly don't expect Ohio State to have much trouble with Michigan State. Michigan State comes in 3-6. They open the season with wins over Central Michigan and Richmond, and then they lost 6 in a row by an average of 22 points a game, and then they just knocked off Nebraska 20-17 to take them to 3-6. They're going to try to do what Rutgers did and what other teams have tried to do against Ohio State. The best way to beat Ohio State is keep the electric Marvin Harrison and the Ohio State offense off the field. Limit their possessions. We saw Indiana limited Ohio State's possessions to a certain degree in a season-opening win for the Buckeyes. Against Rutgers last week, Ohio State only had 4 possessions in the second half. Now, they scored on 3 of them, which is huge, but they only had 4 possessions in the second half, and that's what Michigan State's going to try to do. I don't think they'll be successful. I think Ohio State will look at what Michigan did to Michigan State and try to top that. They want to try to make that statement there. A stat that I heard, by the way, that was interesting was that Ohio State this year has 10 turnovers on offense. Well, they've given the ball away 10 times. I think one may have been on a punt, but 10 times, 5 fumbles, 5 interceptions. On those 10 turnovers, the Ohio State defense has only given up 16 points on those 10 turnovers. Jim Knowles, Ryan Day talked about that kind of thing where it's, something that they focus on with the defense as far as, being able to take it, not let teams take advantage of them after a turnover. The offense, defense done a great job of that. Night game in Columbus. Easier for recruits to come in. They're going to have a star stud on the sideline. When you watch on Peacock, the Ohio State bench, there'll be a lot of people in making recruiting visits. One of the guys who came in recently, Devin Sanchez, who's from out of Houston, Texas. He's the number 6 player nationally, and he is the top cornerback, top defensive back, cornerback in the country. And he said he's going to make his announcement on January 6th where he's going to go. He's in the 2025 class. Now, he is Alabama, A&M, Ohio State are the 3 he is considering. The 3 top contenders there. We'll see if Ohio State can grab him. Again, anytime Jim Knowles grabs somebody, I get excited about it because I know it's somebody who Jim Knowles believes can fit into his defense. Also, Byron Lewis, a running back in the 2025 class out of St. Louis. Anyway, he's a 4-star running back, and the 24/7 Sports Director of Recruiting, Steve Wilfong, said that he thinks that Ohio State will end up getting Byron Lewis. So another stud running back could be coming to Ohio State here very soon. All right, let's talk basketball now. The Ohio State women's basketball team, they lost in Las Vegas, 83-74. USC came in ranked 21st in the country. Ohio State was 7th. USC had freshman Juju Watkins. We can now call her freshman sensation, National Player of the Year last year in high school. She scored 32 points in her collegiate debut. As USC and Ohio State, interesting game because you could tell it looked like a season opener for both teams by the way they played at different times. In the second and third quarters, just so you know, in those middle quarters there, USC outscored Ohio State 41-40. Not that big of a deal, right? Well, if you break it down, in the second quarter, USC outscored Ohio State 31-10. In the third quarter, Ohio State outscored USC 30-10. So I asked Kevin McGuff about that, and he agrees that you don't see that very often. He doesn't remember seeing something like that big of a disparity in scoring between the second and third quarters, and equally disparaging, if that makes sense. Equal disparity. Anyway, McGuff talked about how frustrating it was in the second quarter. He used 2 of his 4 timeouts to get for the entire game. He used 2 of them in the second quarter to try to shake his team up a little bit. Third quarter, Ohio State came out playing much better there. But J.C. Sheldon scored 28 points for the Buckeyes. Cody McMahon struggled. She scored just 7 points on 3 for 11 shooting, also had foul trouble issues. Ohio State was 5 for 21 on 3-pointers. And look, the recipe for challenging Ohio State is out there. We saw it last year in the NCAA tournament when they got beat at the end. But they've made comebacks too, but when they got beat in the Elite Eight game. But you have to have an athletic big. And that's what, if you have an athletic big, you can have success against Ohio State and just be patient against the press. Ohio State's press, they forced 20 turnovers on USC. But Ohio State's press, though, if you can beat that and get some easy buckets, which they were able to do. USC was, again, athletic bigs, got down the floor. If they got the right pass and the extra pass in there, they've had a big woman underneath, a big player underneath to get an easy basket. So the 40 minutes of hell that Ohio State does, it worked a lot of the time, but USC did have success being down the floor. Okay, now Ohio State's got 5 straight home games, starting on Sunday against IUPUI, and then they play Boston College, East Carolina, Oklahoma State, and Cornell, all at home, before they travel to Tennessee on December 3rd. Kevin McGuff talked about how, it's basketball is different than football, whereas you can absorb an early season loss or a couple as long as you get better. And he talked about there's a lot of things they can work on this week. There's a lot of things. The shot selection is one of the things, but also just fine tuning the full court press. And Celeste Taylor, the reigning ACC player of the year, came over to Ohio State, made her debut, certainly had her impact felt on defense, didn't do great offensively, was 1 for 8 from the field, I believe, in the game, ended up picking up 5 fouls. But it'll be interesting to see how Ohio State adjusts that press going into the game. And no disrespect to Ooey Pooey, but this game's more about Ohio State against themselves than it is Ohio State against the opponent. So that's, again, Sunday, home opener out at Value City Arena. The Buckeyes women's basketball team, so much fun to watch. Go check them out. And I'm telling you, Cody McMahon is worth the price of admission. J.C. Sheldon is so good as well. So anyway, Ohio State men, by the way, we'll transition to that as we wrap things up there. They're going to try to pick up a big win on Friday when they host 15th ranked Texas A&M. The Buckeyes defeated Oakland 79-73 to open the season earlier in the week. It was kind of an uneven performance. The Buckeyes trailed at the half, but it looked like the first game of the season. It looks like what you might expect a team to look like in the first game of the season. Bruce Thornton, Roddy Gale Jr., and Zed Key led the way. They scored 17 points each. Scotty Middleton added 13 points. He tied Key for the team rebounding honors with 8. Minnesota transfer Jamison Battle scored 9, made a pair of triples in that game. And one of the things Ohio State's going to have to do against A&M is improve their shot selection. They need to take better shots, take better care of the basketball as well. Chris Holtman talked about the importance. He likes these home and homes with quality opponents. It's a chance for both teams to pick up a quadrant 1 win early on, which could pay big dividends down the stretch when we get to Selection Sunday with the NCAA tournament. So, and Holtman said he likes doing this more than the neutral site games. And I know that they do the CBS Sports Challenge. I think Ohio State's got UCLA this year. They always go to Atlanta or Vegas or New York or Chicago or somewhere. But he likes doing these home and homes. He thinks it's important. He wants more coaches to do it, more head coaches in college basketball to do this, because he enjoys the environment it provides for the home team, but then also what the players have to play through going on the road. So Ohio State's playing at A&M next year. And this is, again, by design by Chris Holtman. He likes having games like this, a game like this early on that's really going to challenge his team. A&M won their opener 78-46 over Texas A&M Commerce. A&M's coming off a 25-win season. 4 starters are back, including Wade Taylor IV. Taylor, who's a junior, is the preseason SEC Player of the Year. He averaged 16.3 points, 3.9 assists a game last year in their win over Texas A&M Commerce. He scored 16 points, passed out 6 assists in just 22 minutes. Taylor was named Andy Katz from NCAA.com. He named Taylor the #1 junior in college basketball this year. And he's very impressed by him. And so it's really going to be up. Texas A&M's got a veteran backcourt with the junior Taylor IV and also senior Tyrese Radford. There's going to be a lot of emphasis placed on Roddy Gale Jr. and Bruce Thornton to slow these guys down. it's going to be a challenge for Ohio State. Quite frankly, it's going to be. But that's where the key to the game is going to be. A&M's got a veteran presence. They've got experience all over the place. But the backcourt though is where it's going to be decided for Ohio State. They got to find a way to slow down Taylor and got to find a way to make sure Radford doesn't take over. One of the things Holtman also talked about was in his first three opponents with Oakland, the first one, then A&M, and then after this is Merrimack, how they each have a very different style of defense and how he almost deliberately wants it that way because he wants Ohio State to get that kind of experience early. A&M, he praised them for their great at their ability to switch on D with their man-to-man defense. And Merrimack, after this, he said is one of the best zone defenses in the country. So it's still a learning process for this team early on. A&M's going to be a great test for them. It's an underrated game that I don't think it's get much play on the national radar, but it should. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. See if the Buckeyes how they're going to do against such a great backcourt. And it'll be a true test again. Roddy Gale Jr., Bruce Thornton are going to really have to play well. They're going to have to do a lot of helping in that. Hope they don't get in foul trouble early on. But we'll see what happens there with the Buckeyes game against A&M. We'll talk more about that after the game on Friday. Thanks so much for tuning in. This has been the Buckeye Blitz. I'm Tito, Jeff Thitoff. Follow me on the X. I am at FitHappens. Fanstream Sports app. Go download it. Apple and Android. It's free. And we'll talk to you again soon.